I never did any of this because I wanted to have commercial anything. We're at Berkeley, we're eating pizza, free pizza, making no money, but Sam Altman cares what we're doing. Our goal has always been to be stewards of the ecosystem, to have as much positive impact as we can. We're academics by nature. And we found ourselves serendipitously at the center of it. Well, the vision has always been to measure and advance the frontier of AI for real world usage, as opposed to some, academic benchmark that somebody has, collected perhaps painstakingly, but that doesn't necessarily reflect real users. Who cares how well it does on a math Olympiad? I do mathematics in my work, and even I don't care about it because it doesn't reflect the type of math that I do.
On today's episode of the First 10 podcast, we are honored to host a true powerhouse who is literally defining how the AI industry measures success, Anastasios Angelopoulos. Anastasios is a graduate of Stanford and earned his PhD from UC Berkeley, which also happens to be where he began his journey as an entrepreneur. Anastasios is the co-founder and CEO of LMArena, the company that spun out of the hugely influential Chatbot Arena project, which he helped launch right out of the Sky Computing Lab at Berkeley. Chatbot Arena rapidly grew to over 1 million monthly users and quickly became the de facto standard used by every major AI lab, from Google to AI, to test their models, sometimes even pre-release. LMArena recently secured $100 million in seed funding and is building the indispensable infrastructure required for reliable AI. Our conversation today will revolve around how LMArena hopes to lead the AI industry forward and the engineering and hiring challenges they expect to encounter in that process. Anastasios, welcome to the First 10 podcast.
Thanks for having me, Boris, and excited to be here. Honored to be your guest on the podcast. First 10 has been a wonderful partner to us at LMArena too.
Thank you. We are going to absolutely quote that. So thank you for saying that, Anastasios. It's been a pleasure working with you as well. I'm excited to catch up, and I'm excited to hear more of your story.
Great. Yeah.
I have a very important question for you.
Please.
Who do you root for when Stanford is playing Berkeley?
I root for whatever school I'm at. And what ended up happening is that all the years that I was at Stanford won, and then all the years that I was at Berkeley won.
Wow, that has to be some freaky. That's kind of some freaky stat stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, you'll have to ask the players because I never saw any of the games.
Amazing. We got to get you. We got to get you to a game.
Yeah.
It's like the big game, right?
I've been busy doing statistics instead of football. That's the problem.
The world appreciates that. Any hidden talents that you would like to share with the world, Anastasios? Do you have any hidden talents?
I don't know how hidden. I don't hide much. I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve. But I guess outside of the work, outside of professional work, the main thing that I do is music. So I have a little music studio at home. I play guitar, piano, I sing, I play bass. I mean, bass and guitar are kind of the same thing anyway, because it's electric bass.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just hang out, play music with my friends, produce. It was my first love. I thought I was going to go to college and major in music. I ended up majoring in electrical engineering because of signal processing, which had this connection to music, because you do a lot of signal processing when you produce songs. And I'd say that's maybe a little known talent to the rest of the world. Not clear that it's a talent, really. I'm obviously not a professional, but I do love doing it.
Maybe a gift. I mean, it is. You're right. It is out in the world. I thought I may have seen a video.
Okay, good.
Video, but I wasn't positive it was you.
It's funny.
I put of the very little decor that I have in my studio here. I do like to put up a record in honor of our guests. So I put up a Tony Bennett record for you.
Awesome.
But maybe I'll ask, if you had to pick a favorite record or a favorite album, what would it be?
Maybe Voodoo by D'Angelo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of my favorite songs is Really Love by D'Angelo. So I'd say, I don't remember that's on Voodoo or Black Messiah. Maybe Black Messiah.
He's incredible.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Singer, yeah. Okay, I'll have to look into that. Always looking to expand my collection.
Yeah, do it. He recently passed away, right?
it is possible. I haven't
Yeah, I
followed
think
him.
he died. He died this year. Yeah, he died a couple months ago. Super sad
Ooh,
at 51.
okay. I'll definitely have to look into that record. Well, rest in peace, D'Angelo.
Yeah. Rest in peace, D'Angelo.
Rest in peace, D'Angelo. Let's dedicate the rest of this episode to
Let's do it.
may his soul only continue to elevate. Okay, so curious about where it all started, right? So you studied computer science and then machine learning. Maybe orient us. When was that in relation to the Chat GPT moment, which I like to talk a lot about on this group? Was AI a thing? Were you thinking about AI when you were studying?
No, I never did any of this because I wanted to have commercial anything.
Mm-hmm.
I um, had done my undergraduate in EE. I was working primarily on medicine, like medical devices,
Okay.
trying to help, disabled people and people with diseases of the eye, primarily like, people that are going blind, trying to help
Mm.
them walk and, use devices better. And after I finished my undergrad, I felt like I didn't have enough foundational, fundamental understanding to be able to engage with science for my whole life. And so to acquire some of that extra knowledge and expertise, I decided to do a PhD. It was really only about knowledge acquisition and, to sort of train my thinking muscle,
Okay.
that I decided to do a PhD in something fundamental. And also because I thought maybe I'll do a master's, but that seems expensive. So a PhD, I'll be able to maybe get it for free. Um, and if I don't like it, I'll just drop out with the master's. So I applied to PhD programs. I had a few mentors at the time in Stanford, like Joseph Kahn, Stephen Boyd, people like that, Gordon Wetstein, who really, really encouraged me. And so then I ended up going and doing a PhD at Berkeley under Mike Jordan and Jitendra Malik, who were two, huge luminaries in the AI field. It was before, again, any of this like big commercial stuff. I started my PhD in 2019, I think.
Okay.
Uh, so it was before any of the Chat GPT generative AI boom. I guess at that time it was like all about self-driving. But it was orders of magnitude smaller in terms of, the compensation that you could receive with the skill set that you get with a AI PhD. And the work that I concentrated on was all about reliability. It was about developing the mathematical and statistical foundations of reliable AI. Um, and I started by working on this field called conformal prediction. Conformal prediction is a methodology for placing uncertainty bounds on black box algorithms. One of the most important applications being to AI, helping know when AI is wrong and use it, therefore, with confidence. And that's what I spent the majority of my PhD on, as well as synthetic data, trying to um, understand how to properly leverage synthetic data to draw valid scientific conclusions. Um, and again, without even a thought of turning it into a company or anything. And then Chatbot Arena came around as a side project.
You
What
guys were
happened
working on
was
that.
that,
You guys were working on that at while at Berkeley.
well, at Berkeley, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what happened was that I got introduced to Yana Wei Lin through my advisor, Mike, and they were kind of working on this pairwise preference thing, and it was very, very early stages at the time, um, and needed to know how to do proper statistical inference on the data that they were gathering through this nascent platform, how to construct the leaderboard, how to construct confidence intervals for the leaderboard, what methodology to be using. And I helped shape that. It wasn't really anybody's main thing except for maybe Wei Lin's at the time. Uh, and then we wrote a paper on it, and I think we kind of thought that would be that. Like, we would continue to run the platform, try to have an impact with it, but we never expected it to be a company. And then it just grew and grew and grew up until the point that even when we were students, GPT 4.0, for example, released on our platform before it got into ChatGPT. The same thing happened
Wow.
with a bunch of the Gemini models. And, at that time, it was like the, an explosion of diversity in the AI ecosystem around models. So many new models, so much competition as to who was going to be the best. And we found ourselves serendipitously at the center of it because we had built this competitive platform. And then it became latched onto by media, by labs, by researchers as a battleground for these new and really exciting corporate competitive markets to duke it out. And we were like, wow, we're at Berkeley, we're eating pizza, free pizza, going to seminars, eating free pizza.
Yeah.
And making no money, but like Sam Altman cares what we're doing.
That's so cool. And this thing's
Greg
blowing up.
Brockman,
And this thing's blowing up.
Millions of users.
Wow.
While we were still in school. And not only did they come, but they stayed. Like the attention only grew and grew on the platform over time. And it started becoming this really central gold standard benchmark for measuring the real world utility of AI to real users,
Yeah.
which is something that we really believed in. And so eventually, Jan Lin and I, we kind of got together and said, we want to turn this into a company. And we want to do it together.
I was going to ask about what, prompted you to, turn it into a commercial. So you were building it as a side project, and then it just started to get this, crazy traction, including, from all these, luminary, companies and startups out there. And you're like, what was the moment? What was the moment where you're like, should this or shouldn't this be a company? And yeah, tell me more.
There was no moment. We were just, it took a long time for us to think about what to do with the project, because our goal was never really to make money. Our goal has always been to be stewards of the ecosystem, to have as much positive impact as we can. And we're academics by nature. We don't care about aggrandizing or enriching ourselves. And so we thought about, hey, what's the right way to do it? Should we do it as a nonprofit? Should we do it as a company? Should we just donate the whole thing to somebody? And what ended up happening is that it became clear that the only way to make it work was to have the scale and resources that a company could provide, and that there was a business model that would allow this to scale to become a really central piece of the ecosystem.
And what was the vision for it? So from, initially it was a project, to, help the industry with reliability. And then you talked about, it being important to have the resources to grow, to grow into a company to achieve its vision. So what was the vision that these resources, were very important for?
Well, the vision has always been to measure and advance the frontier of AI for real world usage, to try and organically measure the experiences and the feedback that people have when they actually use AI, as opposed to some, academic benchmark that somebody has, collected perhaps painstakingly, but that doesn't necessarily reflect real users. And in order to make a benchmark like that work, you need millions and millions of real users from around the world. You need diversity. You need everybody under the sun to have their interests represented. And you need to be able to understand those people so that you can create the analytics that the industry needs in order to properly guide model behavior.
That's a really interesting point. I just want to kind of pick at that for a second. So you said, you want to differentiate, you want to help the world with, real life, AI effectiveness versus what, an academic benchmark says. So there are academic benchmarks that say this model's better than that model, but I'm just this average user using the model, and I'm like, I don't really think it's better for me. And so is that what you're saying?
Exactly. It's like, who cares how well it does on a math Olympiad? Maybe some people care, but we don't care, you and me, unless you're a math Olympiad guy.
Right.
I'm not. I'm
not.
I do mathematics in my work, and even I don't care about it because it doesn't reflect the type of math that I do. So being able to zoom in on individual people and help them understand which AIs are best for them, for their real usage, that is in part what we're most excited to do.
Fascinating. And so you know, the whole concept is the chatbot battleground, right? And then there's and then there's a ton of inference that's going on behind the scenes, and then there's a leaderboard. And so how do you convert what is kind of, I'm almost thinking is like vibes based, this is better than that, that's better than this. How do you turn that into like something of rigor that produces some reliable outcome for the model developers and even for the users?
Learning from organic feedback, whether it's binary preference feedback like we collect in battle mode, thumbs up, thumbs down type feedback like we collect in direct chat, or richer types of feedback, has been a topic of study for many decades, everywhere from statistics to psychology, psychometrics, to computer science. So there's actually quite a broad literature on this, and an intersection with ranking systems. So relatedly, one question that you might ask is, let's say we're playing sports and there's K different teams and they battle each other one-on-one. How can I tell which team is the best? Or K different players, like in tennis. They only battle each other in pairs. So sometimes it's hard from those battles to try to understand how to pool information globally across everything that you've seen to tell a ranking over all of the K players in the game. But it turns out that there's statistical models for this. And in particular, the canonical model is called the Bradley-Terry model. In the Bradley-Terry model, what you do is you assume that every different player, each of these K individuals that are playing in the battles, has a true underlying strength called the Bradley-Terry coefficient. And that strength is higher if they're more likely to win in a battle, and lower if they're less likely to win.
Makes sense.
And then given any two players' strengths, you can calculate the probability A beats B as the sigmoid of the difference between their strengths. So player A minus player B, if that's positive, that means player A is more than 50% likely to win in a battle. And if it's negative, the other way around. And there's a scaling that goes associated with that. Now, it turns out that if you assume this, then you can use all of the history of battles that you've ever seen, even if two players have never battled directly, to rank the whole list. And that is what we use for LMArena as a starting place. Now, the problem of converting this into more and more careful evaluation is actually quite deep scientifically. So what I just described is kind of on average over everybody that asks questions in LMArena, how good are these models? But what if I want to know which model is best just for you? What if I want to have very, very detailed analysis? Well, one of the things that we do is we do categories. So we can ask the question, which models are best at math? Which models are best at coding? How about different languages, English, Chinese, Russian, German, Spanish? How about multi-turn? Occupational categories, legal, medicine, and so on. And we have all of these in our leaderboards. We do it by sub-stratifying, and we're developing more and more complex methods. In fact, we have a team dedicated to essentially pushing the future of AI evaluations from real-world data, which is ultimately the closest thing that we can get to the real world, because they're one and the same.
So I saw somewhere, and I'm glad you brought this up. I saw somewhere that either a vision of yours or part of a vision of yours of LMArena's is for everyone to know what their everyone to have either their personalized model preference, or I don't know exactly how that would work. I'm picturing almost like an interface that allows me to interact with an interface that, so I don't have to choose between ChatGPT or Cloud or whatever. I could just kind of interface and then the best model serves me whatever the answer is. Is that how you envision that?
Of course, I think one of the things that we need to do is surface personal leaderboards to everybody so that they can understand which AIs are best for them, perhaps even for them on a specific type of question. Um, for example, for me, I might ask which model is best at helping me prove theorems about statistics,
Hmm.
and which model sounds most like the tone and voice that I like to write with. My writing voice tends to be pretty terse. Um, so I care a lot about how it sounds. Now, once we can do that and expose those analytics to the user, the next step would be, can we use that information to automatically route them to the best model? And I think that that's something that we very well might do in LMArena. Just you can go to lmarena.ai and get served the best model for your use case.
Ugh, I can't wait for that because I feel like I'm not. I feel like one would have to be very into all the models and what they all do best to be able to know which one to go to, and maybe very maybe Silicon Valley insiders who are very close to the latest in AI know all the options and know where to go, but for sure the average person in the world has no clue.
Yeah.
So where are we today with model advancement and development? How are we doing with the acceleration of models? What do you kind of anticipate of model advancement, and how long until we get to that place you just described?
Well, the field continues to accelerate. So we are seeing constant competition, and basically every month there's a back and forth between the OpenAIs, XAIs,
Yeah,
Googles, Anthropics of the world, competing to have the best models. And we're also seeing to some extent some degree of specialization. So, for example, OpenAI and Google are really duking it out on the consumer front. XAI is to some extent also attacking that market by the integration with X, the social media.
yeah.
Um, Anthropic is really focusing on enterprise and coding. And as I understand it, doing quite well there. And the story becomes even more complex and diverse when you move towards multimodal models, where there's just dozens and dozens of different providers doing image generation, video generation, audio, um, all of them with slightly different styles and markets that they're going after. So a lot of people say AI is the most important advancement in humanity since at least the internet, and some say since electricity. I believe this to be true. And because of that, there is so much value waiting to be created in all of these industries that there's doubtless going to be many dozens of providers that create specialized solutions that attack all of these problems separately. Even if they're built on top of foundation models, a lot of the value will accrue to them simply by virtue of the fact that every industry is being transformed and every industry is quite different, has their own special needs. So I'm just excited to see many flowers bloom.
I like the way you put that. That's a nice metaphor. I guess with regards to that, where in the evolution do you see us today? Are we early? Are we late?
We're
How
very,
much
very
more?
early. We're
Very
very,
early.
very early. There's trillions of dollars of economic value that are waiting to be created. We're very, very early. We're 20 years ahead of the puck.
I think back to the internet and the search wars. Has the Google of AI been created yet? Because Google didn't come out until a little later. There was quite a bit of search competition until then.
I think the history book's waiting to be written. It's being written every day. I can't say whether or not any of these companies are going to be the ones that dominate, although it certainly seems like some of them are dominant. Um, but people are always surprising in their ingenuity, and maybe they create something that will dethrone the existing kings. That said, with 20 years of time, it's very hard to predict what's going to happen.
Yeah, it does feel like we're. It feels like we're early. It feels like everything is moving at warp speed, and it feels like there's chatter about, are we in a bubble? Have we overgrown? and there's like a trillion things left to build. So like all those things seem true at the same exact time. It's a wild time to
It is.
be a
It
fly on the
is.
wall and a contributor to this space.
Completely agreed. It's a
Yeah.
privilege to be able to be part of it. And even if there's a market correction, I have a lot of faith in the long-term value that's being created. So, to some extent, I would see a market correction as an opportunity for those of us that are real believers to dig in and hire up anybody that's being fired and is really good.
Yep. Yeah, that seems to be sentiment for those that are building something with some real, longevity and staying power.
I have strong conviction in this space. Even if valuations drop by half, I'm going to be happy to be reinvesting, all my time and energy and capital
Yeah.
into this market.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm on Team Anastasios there. So one of the things that stood out about LMArena when I was first introduced to you guys is you guys chose to raise $100 million seed round. That's massive. When most people think about seed rounds, it's in the few million, maybe maybe it broke 10 million or something like that. You may walk us through your decision making process around choosing to raise that extent of round at this kind of early initial stage.
LMArena is not a typical seed stage company. We've been working on it as an academic project for years at that point, and it already had quite a bit of traction, millions of users, already had quite a bit of mind share in the space, was basically the gold standard evaluation on real users. So it's not like we needed to have a little bit of seed money in order to vet the idea and see if we were going to get any traction. That wasn't
That's
us.
fair. That's fair. Okay.
We were like, we have this like great idea that we've been developing in research for years. Let's accumulate capital so that we can really scale it up into a company. And we had a lot of investors that believed in us. So credit goes to them for having the conviction to say, no, guys, you're not going to slow play this and take $5-10 million and just try to, do with what you can to validate the idea. The idea has been validated. Now go and run. And that's what we've been doing. We've got a team of 42. We've got, tens of millions of users. We have been growing, multiples, on the user side every couple months. It's just a very exciting time for us, and we're continuing to develop more and more evaluations and becoming more central to the space of AI.
I love that. That makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that context because you're right. You already had your product market fit. You already had a ton of traction, and you guys were exploding. So it's almost like what's called your seed round was almost like your seed A, B, maybe even C, or to whatever extent. All
Yeah,
kind of just
I
wrapped
mean,
up, and then let you guys
valuations are
kind of
so strange
optimize.
these days. It's hard to say what's a seed versus an A versus whatever,
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah. But certainly it was inarguable that we had the traction, and we had traction that befitted a round of that size. Yeah, given the amount of work that we had already done. So
yeah. I mean, I'm just picking up on like great energy, like enthusiasm and momentum and confidence. I'm just picking up on a lot of that. Curious. So is this your first company, and what was it like? Kind of just saying, yeah, I'm doing this. It was like maybe like the fear versus excitement kind of mindset around it.
yeah, it's really my first time as a founder of a company. Um, it has been very exciting. It's very different from being a PhD student. I'll
I
tell you that.
imagine.
It's not, yeah, they're basically different in every possible way. Um, but I've really enjoyed it. It's helping me, I'm learning a lot every day. I'm surrounded by people that I really respect and admire who teach me a lot, and I'm very grateful for their help. Um, and most of all, the thing that I like best about it is the opportunity to dedicate my life and my work to a mission that's, I believe, is bigger than myself, which is this mission of advancing the frontier of AI for real users.
I love that. I love that. From the perspective of a real user, I appreciate what y'all are building. Um, so when we've known each other for a little bit, you guys were just getting started when we first met, and now when we first started the call, you said you're in your 40s already from a team size
Yep,
perspective. That's insane.
it is
How
insane.
quickly you guys are growing.
Yeah,
So
it is insane.
tell me a little bit about the way the team is organized right now. Who's a part of it? What are the kind of key components of it? And then I'd love to talk about how you're growing and what you're growing into.
With a product like ours, the team has to be pretty diverse in terms of skill set. There's a consumer product, LMArena.ai, which has millions and millions of users that we need to make happy. They use our website. They don't pay for it, but they have a lot of choices as to what websites to go to every day. And we need to earn their usage of LMArena. That's not trivial at all. So we have a consumer product team that is dedicating every day towards how can we make this product really excellent for the people that are visiting, and continue to expand our product offerings to give them more and more value every day. That is a bulk of the work that we do. And if anybody is interested in building the next generation of AI products, new product surfaces that are going to reach many millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of users across all modalities, whether that's text, image, video, code, and so on, LMArena is a great place to do it because we have the flexibility to offer all this to our users for free. And we already have a massive distribution channel with which to launch new products. It's rare to have that in the space. Usually the people with lots of distribution are the Googles and Metas and OpenAIs of the world that are mega corporations, but we're a team of 40. So anybody that joins us has the opportunity to have a real impact. And then, of course, we use that feedback that we get from our community to make analytics, to make leaderboards, evaluations, and essentially machine learning products, many of which we release to our community at no cost. So we have the leaderboard. And so we have a machine learning team to staff that too. And the job of that machine learning team, they have many jobs. One of them, of course, is to ensure the integrity, the fairness of the leaderboard and to kind of be a guardian of the field, to be stewarding the development of AI and guiding it in the right direction. That is a huge responsibility and also a calling that I can imagine many people would be interested in. And then there's also the development of things like auto raters, reward models, and so on, which, of course, are a big part of what we do. They are products that we will be offering to customers, that we are already offering. And learning from the heterogeneous human preferences that we get on the platform is a huge challenge. It's a technical challenge. It's a research problem of how do you take this coarse feedback user data and turn it into very rich and informative analytics to help the world understand how do people really use AI, what do they prefer, disprefer, what's useful to them versus not, how do we make it safe from a real continuous stream of data. And I can imagine many PhD research scientists like myself would be interested in this problem. It's what attracted me to it in the first place, and I've been continually surprised by how rich and beautiful the problem is.
Incredible. Yeah, it's such a I think like you originally mentioned, it's a diverse range of talent and individual and such a broad kind of operating space upon which
Absolutely
is building. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's a privilege to be able to work around this incredible team too. I know that we're at 40 already, but we've been hiring with quite a bit of discipline. We don't give a lot of offers. And so the people on our team are excellent.
I can attest to that. I've been both on the end of helping y'all hire and seeing people make it very, very far and not hired. So I can attest to the quality that you guys hire at.
Thank you, boss.
Maybe talk to a little bit about what is the LMArena ethos? What type of person does really well at LMArena? Maybe describe that person, and we'll see if it resonates with the listener. We'll be able to track some great talent for you here.
LMArena, by virtue of the fact that it has a lot of academic DNA, is a place where expertise is highly valued. We basically don't hire people unless they're true experts in their domain already, where you're expected to prove your opinions. We make data-driven decisions. We don't just debate things based on people's random thoughts. We expect people to come to the table with evidence, to have zero ego about cases where they might be wrong. And we hold ourselves to that standard, of course, and we hold everyone else on our team to that standard. And at the same time, we expect people to be kind, generous with others. One of the phrases I like to use is elevate others. Bring energy to the table that inspires everyone to do their best work. And with all of that in mind, we've created the culture of a high-performance team. Everybody, by virtue of being on the team, has a certain expertise, valuable expertise, that is helping the company. And also, they are a force multiplier on everyone else. So if you're interested in joining a high-performance team like ours, a small team that's building the future of AI evaluations and stewarding the responsible development of the field, you should join LMArena.
I love that. And Anastasios and I can help you with
Yes,
that if you are so interested. Okay, so we're on the cusp of finishing 2025. 2026 is on the horizon. I've been asking this of AI founders so we could document the moment. What's your prognosis of what happens next? There's fear that AI will take people's jobs. There's optimism that AI will usher in, this wave of, people will be able to earn basic universal income and not have to work again. What do you foresee of the future?
Well, listen, there's no question that AI is going to result in some jobs being lost. No question. Why do you think that it's being developed? It's being developed in order to basically increase economic efficiency. And the main application of AI so far in enterprises is to take rote tasks and automate them, whether that's simple financial models or understanding of documents or forms and paperwork of various kinds. That's a huge probably hundreds of billions of dollars of value every year off of just those simple automations. And if you're somebody who's, proofreading text for grammatical mistakes, or whose job just involves simple document processing all day, yeah, you should expect that job is not going to be there in like 20 years. I mean, there's a reason for this technology, being useful, and it's going to be better than all of us at it. So there's just no point in, holding on to that. So we as a society need to think about what the consequences are going to be to our economic system. Because let's face it, a lot of jobs are like that. A lot of jobs don't require you to be an Einstein, and maybe the Einsteins are going to get automated too. So in that kind of world, where do we see jobs headed? It's kind of unclear. Maybe there will be, as with many technological revolutions, a boom in some complementary jobs that just get created by virtue of the boom. Maybe there will be more service jobs. Maybe humans will be more in charge of interacting with other humans. Or maybe something surprising will emerge that we had no idea about. But in any case, in a world where much of the economic value in our system is being provided by software, we are probably going to need to rethink the system in the long run.
Yeah. So maybe, 30 seconds worth of advice for someone who's, struggling to find employment right now, or worried about, their job potentially being displaced. Where should they focus their energies?
I don't have great advice to somebody who can't find a job. I think there's a lot of people in many different situations, and if we can be helpful, happy to chat more to any specific individual. But on the note of people that might think that their jobs are at risk, I would say there's no point in trying to fight the technology, because the technology is going to keep getting developed. So the right thing to do is probably to lean in, to try
Yeah.
to use the technology, become an expert in it, and be at the forefront of modernizing your field. Because if you do that, then you can be carried with the wave. The problem is if you don't surf the wave, you might get, caught in the pullback.
Yeah, that's what I've been encouraging individuals to do is lean into AI. I'm a believer that those who use AI will replace those who don't use AI, and AI by itself, we'll see to what extent it in itself replaces individuals. But yeah,
Totally.
encouraging individuals to really lean into using AI to do whatever it is that they do 2 times better, 5 times better, 10 times better than the person who doesn't use AI.
Totally. I mean, the point is, for myself, when I think about where to go strategically with both my life and with this company, one of the things I look for is a secular trend, something that's going to happen anyway, regardless of whether or not I believe in it or I want it to happen or whatever. And AI is one of those. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not. It's going to automate a lot of stuff. We can argue about the ethics of it. Ultimately, the march of technological progress will happen anyway. Period. So, given that fact, what are you going to do? Are you going to surf the wave? Are you going to let it pass by? Are you going to fight with regulation? I believe in responsible regulation, but ultimately, it's likely not to stop the development. So, one has to be enterprising and figure out a way to reskill and to learn about this emerging technology so that we can take advantage of it in a responsible way that protects people, and puts people at the center of our economy. Of course, it's not like we're doing this all to make AI happy. It has to make humans happy.
100%, 100%. The wave, but the wave is here, regardless of what
Waves
one
here.
thinks. Yeah,
You're going to
well
catch it or
enjoy
not.
the ride. Enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. All right, Anastasios, thank you so much for joining us today. I had such a good time. I think I learned my dose for the day, and the day is still young. So
Thanks for
thank you
having
again
me,
for
boss.
joining us. For those who want to reach you, for those who are excited about LMArena, how can they get in touch?
Easiest way is to find me on X at ML_Angelopoulos, or to email me at Anastasios@LMArena.ai.
Awesome. Thank you again, Anastasios. Enjoy the rest of the day, and thank you again for all you do for AI and for the world.
Thanks, Boston. Thanks to you as
All
well.
right.